couple quick thoughts. Knowing going into this draft lottery, there was a chance we could move down. When you look at the odds, it was funny that there was the best chance to get the 7th pick, believe it or not, and then the sixth pick, and only a 2% chance of getting the 5th pick. So we knew that there was a chance that we could move down a little bit. But the one thing for us is we spent some time together today as a scouting staff, as a group. Rick was a big part of that. And where you start in the draft today, sometimes it's where you end, and sometimes it's not. And quite frankly, looking at last year, us having a few more assets to move and getting aggressive, I think there's an opportunity to get aggressive in this draft. I can't promise that. I'm a big believer in looking at past drafts, and analytics and scouting has come back, and they basically tell you there's 7 really good picks in every draft. Not every draft, but on an average, there's 7. So this is a critical draft. Having that pick right now in hand, along with having cap space, we could have up to 25. We could probably generate some more. Having the 31st pick, I think the biggest thing for me right now is an incredible amount of optionality. And when you look at it from, adding a young piece, a core piece at 6 to this group, all the way from using our cap space to take in a player and grab another pick. I mean, the gamut of where we can go is wider and a higher beta than any time I've ever been around. I mean, we were writing down scenarios the last couple of weeks, and we were at 20 and we were still cooking. And so I think the biggest thing is we're going to keep an open mind. I do really want to, there's something that's really important to me in terms of, at least to the group, and that is that the player we draft, we want him in Indiana, and we want him in for 24 hours and maybe more, and we want to spend some serious time to get to know him, because we want the community to embrace him, we want the player to embrace Indiana, and I think that we're going to do some things different. We're going to watch film with players. We're going to get their take on how they feel about, how they fit with us. And I think that's really exciting. I hope we can still get a good swath of those players. I think we will. And I think that probably starts in the next week or two in getting those players to come in. And again, there's a lot of ways we can take this, but we feel comfortable that there's a great chance to get one really core young player to add to Tyrese and Chris and we hopefully we can keep Sticks and Isaiah, but we're going to add to this young core group, and again, we've got 6 and 31 and 58. At the end of the day, do we have those, or do we get really aggressive? There was a time and this reminds me a lot of something happened in Portland in my first draft that I ever had a chance to run. And that is, we statistically had the best chance to get the first pick. We dropped down to 4, and we took that 4th pick. We moved it to 2. We acquired 7, moved it to 6, and we took we took LaMarcus Aldridge and Brandon Roy, and quite frankly, turned the franchise around in one draft. And, I can't promise that we're going to do that, but we're going to certainly give it our best.
All right, we'll go ahead and take questions. Greg, can you start us off, please?
Yeah, KP, I was going to ask if you were ticked off, but you don't look ticked off, so I'm going to ask you something else, because I'm ticked off, but I'm going to ask you something else. We're going to get aggressive. Does aggressive mean either direction, get aggressive and move down and do something, or does aggressive mean we could go up 1 through 5?
I don't want to give you bad information because I want to be open. It means that there's an opportunity to get our player that we want. Look, there's going to be a time, Greg, where we decide this is our guy and we want it, I get super aggressive to go get it. And whether it's that guy up or that guy that's currently playing in the NBA and using our cap space and picks or using 31 in our Cleveland asset and the 6th pick and go and get that guy, we will get to a point where I tell my group, this is the 2 guys. This is the 1 guy that I want on the Indiana Pacers. But we got to go through a big process. I got to bring these guys to Indiana. And again, I don't want to, this is important to me that when they come to Indiana, they want to be in Indiana. And it's going to be a fun process. I hate that word, but we're excited. We're gonna kick butt. We're not messing around now. I think we showed last year that we're willing to move and toggle to get where we want to get. I'd be shocked if that isn't just the start of it, because I want to get aggressive.
Bob Kravitz.
Yeah, hey, Kevin, you mentioned the Portland experience. What did you take out of that? And as you said, you moved up a couple of times and got Roy and Aldridge.
Well, as we kind of, I remember leaving that draft probably more depressed than because when you go through a season like that, you want to be rewarded, but that's not the way this draft works. And quite frankly, the way they've changed the odds, it's very difficult to get that. What I would say is this. I challenged the staff to find what do we want to have happen? Who are the 2 players that we want to come out of this draft? And by hell or high water, we were going to get those 2 guys. And it was LaMarcus and it was Brandon. And quite frankly, there's some guys that give me a tingle in this draft higher than us at 6, and quite frankly, lower than that too. And so maybe we can repeat that. I don't want to guarantee that. I'm not been in this long enough to know that sometimes you got good trading partners and it works. But when you think about this, the Cleveland pick is still a very valuable pick. Cap space is going to be more important this summer because there's only 6 or 7 teams that have cap space, but there's a lot of shadow teams that want cap space. So could we be aggressive to take on a player and get aggressive to get another pick, or we could do that. And then 31 is a beautiful place to be in this draft. It's the one pick that you have a lot of creativity in doing a contract. And so if you see a guy falling, there's going to be all kinds of activity around 31.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin, this is such a unique position for this franchise, given this is the highest that Indiana's drafted since 1988. Do you sense an excitement around the organization just being in this position this year?
Oh my God, tremendous. And we got to hit on it. We got to hit on it and whatever we get in this draft. And, I was sitting with Rick and he's super excited. We end up talking with a couple of the players as we were walking out of the lottery. And I think we're really excited to start getting to know these players. And so there's some difference makers and then there's some real value in this draft, and we've got to find both. Bob?
Yeah, sorry, I lost you there for a second. What's the
problem.
process going to look like for the next couple of months here before the draft?
Well, we'll finish up here. There's going to be some agent workouts out west that we'll all go to. And then after that, it'll be getting back and getting our top priority guys in to work out and spend time with. Is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin, you've never had the 6th pick since you've been there. So I realize I'm not sure how much you can answer this, but you were stressing you want a guy who's going to come in. So it's one thing to say, a couple years ago, we couldn't get the top 6 guys to come in, but you were picking 14th. So do you have any sense that you might not be able to get, us being little old Indiana, are we not going to be able to get, say, a Keegan Murray type to come in?
I don't want to talk about any player right now. What I'll say is this. I'd be shocked if we don't get the guy in that we're going to draft. I would be shocked. And I'll tell you why. And that is, I think a lot of agents, a lot of people around the league see our direction and see our optionality and say, that might be a place I want to go. It happened tonight already, kind of organically running into a couple players. And we got really good feedback from a couple players, like, we're coming to Indiana, let's get this started.
Bob, go ahead.
Kevin, you look at the mock drafts for whatever they're worth, and you see this sort of line of demarcation. You got Smith, Holmgren, Bancaro, and Ivy. Is there a drop-off, significant drop-off after that, or do you see it going deeper than that?
I think a lot of people think that's in some order. It feels like that's what's being put out there. And if you were to take and look at the mock drafts for the last 4 or 5 years and say, here's the top 4 players, rarely are they the top 4 players in the NBA.
Right.
So we're all making our best educated guesses, but I think there's a tier, but I'm not afraid to be in the tier below that. I think the tier below that, in theory, is just as good.
Tony East.
And there's something, I will say this, there's something about picking that pick that at the end of the day, there's usually a little chip on the player's shoulder. Like, why wasn't I considered in that top 4? And I like that. I think this guy who we pick, it's going to be paramount. Number 1, I want a guy who loves basketball. I mean, we're going to ask that 100 different ways. Does he love to play the game? And then secondly, then fit, then does it really fit? And we're going to find those out by spending time. And again, we're going to do some unique things this time. We're going to really try to get to know these guys.
Tony East, go ahead.
Yeah. Hey, Kevin, what was tonight kind of like for you? Is it stressful for you to watch the lottery? And then as a follow-up from that, you kept saying you were aggressive around the trade deadline. Do you kind of view that as the same sort of mentality you'll carry into this draft cycle?
I do. We all gathered before the draft today, and we made a toast. And I looked at a lot of our scouts are here. There was definitely some nervousness. You want to get the number 1 pick, but the thing that I think is important is it may be great to get the number 1 pick, but let's get to work and make the best choices, because the best choices are more important than having the number 1 pick.